Warning, inappropriate boss and stalking. I've gray-rocked my toxic boss, and now he's panicking. I've stopped being the office doormat. My boss can tell I'm on my way out, and now he's trying to be nice to me to get me to stay. I've been applying to new jobs since October, and although I don't have one lined up yet, I'm at the point where I no longer care if I get fired from my current job. I'm leaving because of my toxic, narcissistic asshole of a boss. For reference, I'm 28F and he's 40M. I have heard him promise the world to other employees, only to call them stupid or pathetic as soon as they're out of hearing range. And I know he does the same with me. In fact, a few weeks ago, he gathered all my coworkers in his office just to talk about how I'm stupid, lazy, and don't know what I'm doing. To be fair, I don't. But only because there was no training, and nobody else here knows how to do my job, especially him. Other things my boss has done is 1. Yell at me in front of my coworkers because I didn't let him know when he was CC'd on an email. 2. Give me the worst employee review I've ever gotten because I don't talk to him about my personal life enough. 3. Tell me that despite my poor review, he approved my holiday bonus for $200, and then complain that his was only $10,000. 4. Hug me when I told him I don't like being hugged. Tell me I need to smile more. He also asked me once if anyone's ever given me a hickey. Yes, I reported this to HR. No, they didn't do anything. 5. Get my coworkers to spy on me. One of them, who I thought I could trust, would always come to me and talk about he hated our boss, and as soon as I said anything in agreement, he would run to our boss and tattle on me. This coworker also reports to my boss everything I say. The other day, I was talking on my phone, telling my friend that I wished my boss and coworkers didn't gossip about me so much. Well, my coworker heard this and immediately told my boss. For most of the year I've been working here, I just tried to stay positive and try my best to get through this. But no more. I don't smile at all, even when my boss tells me to. I respond to everything with one-word answers. He keeps asking me what's wrong, and I only say nothing. Now the department is gossiping about me more, but they're in a panic. They keep asking each other if they think I'm leaving, and if so, they will not be doing my job. Which is funny, because I've heard them say in the past that I don't do anything. My boss now has been talking loudly from his office, saying things like, "My name is such a good employee." He's been complimenting me on finishing tasks he's never complimented me on before. He keeps telling me he likes my hair. And one day, he sat down in my office and told me point blank that I'm not allowed to leave. Someone in a different department told me that he's terrified I'm going to leave. Well, him, because I am. This week, I'm supposed to hear back from several places I've been interviewing with, so wish me luck. Update 1 week later. I quit today. My original post blew up a lot more than I thought it would. Thank you for everyone who gave me words of support. I didn't realize that there were so many people who had gone through, or were currently going through, a similar situation. In the few days since I originally posted, my boss only became more obnoxious. He said loudly to another coworker that I'm super smart. He also proudly ran to my office to tell me that he'd just done something that's usually my job just to help me out, even though I would have just done it myself if he'd asked me to. But he didn't. Also, in the past, he would get mad at me if I arrived or left the office without properly greeting/saying goodbye to him. I stopped doing that for about 2 weeks, but he never said anything to me about it like he usually did. The one coworker I kind of trust told me that after I went home one day, our boss sat down at his desk, looking like he was feeling sorry for himself, and said, "My name is completely checked out, but I don't know what to do." He also made a big stink about my birthday. My birthday is at the end of this month. Our receptionist always posts a monthly birthday list in the kitchen, showing the names and birth dates of everyone who had a birthday that month. She got my birthday wrong, which I honestly did not give a shit about, but my boss made it into such a big deal that she came into my office to apologize. I had no idea what she was talking about until she said that my boss had been upset that she'd gotten my birthday wrong and told her to fix it ASAP. He also came into my office and said that he'd marked the date on his personal calendar and was acting all excited about it, even as I just stared at him with a blank expression. Honestly, I've wondered why he's so desperate to keep me here, especially since he's said on numerous occasions that I don't know what I'm doing. But honestly, I think he gets off on ordering others around and telling people what they did wrong, and enjoys having been able to shout my name from his office and have me running over to him like an obedient little lapdog. Last week, I did hear back from one of the jobs I've been interviewing with, but they told me they didn't have any definite answers for me and asked that I wait until Monday, which is today, at the latest. Even though I still didn't have an offer, on Thursday, I packed up all my shit and deleted all my browsing history while my boss had stepped out of the office. We work in contracting and construction, so he sometimes leaves the office to go out to the field. Then I sat at my desk, arranged some of our job folders on it so that it didn't look too bare, and mostly played solitaire for the rest of the day. He did come back, but he didn't notice anything, and the day progressed as usual. But the next day on Friday, I didn't feel like coming in, so I called out sick. My coworker said that he came into my office and did notice that all my stuff was gone, and apparently flew into a panic. He thought I wasn't coming in on Monday, today, but I did. I wanted to just ghost him when I finally got an offer, but I didn't get the opportunity to. When I came in this morning, he immediately came to talk to me. He told me that he knows I'm unhappy and asked me what's wrong. I just kept saying, nothing. Even so, he asked me what he can do to make me happy, push back my start time in the morning, give me a raise. I said no to both of those. He then said that he knows I'm on my way out, and asked if I could stay until he found a replacement. I probably should have accepted a raise until I got an offer, but the thought of staying here for a day longer was honestly unimaginable. So I kinda just blurted out, I'll stay until the end of today. He looked shocked by that. After a few seconds, he asked if I could make a list of everything that's on my plate. I said sure, but I'm not going to do that. Before he left my office, he kept asking me if there was anything he did wrong. When I said nothing, he said that he wanted to know so that he could change for the better. All I said was, I don't think anything's ever going to change here. I didn't want to give him the satisfaction of telling him, oh, well, here's why I think you're an asshole, because he would have denied it. Also, he has a group of yes-men surrounding him at all times who stoke his ego, and they would have told him that I'm the one in the wrong. He stepped out again to go out to the field, and I went and spoke with our HR rep. All I told her was, look, I don't expect anything to be done about this, but I just want you to know that my boss is the reason I'm leaving. To my surprise, she did take it seriously and asked me to elaborate. They did just hire a new director in the HR department, so maybe that's why she decided to take me seriously? IDK. Either way, I laid everything out for her. I told her that my boss doesn't respect me. I told her that I get that gossip is a part of every office, but I draw the line when I hear my boss is talking shit about me to all of my coworkers. I also told her that I feel like I'm being spied on by the office snitch, and that I can hear him reporting everything I say and do to my boss. She asked me if I had another job lined up, and I said no. The HR rep said that she would be talking about this to our CEO later this week. Whether or not she actually will, I've no idea. But I'm just glad I'm done. Well, word quickly spread around here that I'm leaving, and a coworker who I barely know, she works on another floor in a different department, came up to talk to me. She asked me if I'm leaving because of my boss, and I said yes. She said that he's the reason she transferred to another department. Apparently, she used to work directly for him. But one day, while he was out of the office, she called her husband briefly from her office phone right before she left for a work conference. She doesn't know if the phone was bugged or if my boss had access to her calls, but apparently, he found out about this call and freaked out because he didn't recognize the number she was calling. So at 4 a.m., he made one of his superintendents swing by the office building after he was done with work. Our crews pave until around 4 to 5 a.m., go into her office, and look at her call history. The superintendent did this, but accidentally hit call on my coworker's husband's number. So the husband received a call from his wife's workplace at 4 a.m. and freaked out, because he'd rightly thought something bad had happened to his wife. He ended up calling his wife's cell repeatedly until she picked up. She contacted our IT guy, who was able to see from the office cameras that it was our superintendent that came into the office, and when he was confronted about this, he told them everything. Even then, my boss denied that he ever made our superintendent do this. So, yeah, the dude's crazy, and I'm glad I'm out. The day's still young, so I'm still hoping I hear back from my prospective new job today. Update 3 months later. My former toxic boss showed up at my new workplace today. This only just happened within the last hour. I think I'm still in shock. My heart is racing and my hands are shaking, but my mind feels almost blank. IDK. It's a weird feeling. For backstory, I've been at my current job for a little more than a month. Prior to this, I was working at an incredibly toxic workplace. My boss was the reason I quit that job. He was absolutely awful. He would yell at me in front of my coworkers for the dumbest shit. For example, whenever he and I were both included on an email, I had to stop whatever I was doing, go into his office, and let him know he received an email. If I didn't, he would get upset and say that I needed to come out of my shell more. He also gave me the worst employee reviews I've ever gotten because I didn't talk to him about my personal life enough. He was upset with me once because he found out from someone we were working with that I had an older brother. And he would have my other coworkers spy on me by telling him everything I did and said. He would say things to me like, "I want to be your best friend. I want you to trust me." And then he would go and tell my coworkers things like, "My name has no idea what she's doing. I'm going to have a talk with her." All of this is just the tip of the iceberg. Back in April, I finally reached my breaking point, and I pretty much quit on the spot. I told the HR specialist everything my boss has ever done and said. Then I blocked him and all my coworkers. Fast forward to now. I moved to a new city just an hour away. I got a new apartment, a new job, a great salary, and a boss who actually respects me. Almost 2 weeks ago, I did see on LinkedIn that my former boss viewed my profile. And yes, I know it was stupid of me to have updated my profile so soon. But all I did was block him and forget about it. Today, I got a call from our receptionist, saying that I had a visitor. When I asked her who, she said Kevin, fake name of my former boss. I went completely cold. I asked her, "Kevin?" I could hear her ask him for his last name. I told her that there was no way I'd be seeing him or speaking to him, and that he needed to leave right now. I told her that if he refused to call security and escort him out. I could tell that freaked her out, so I tried to explain the situation, though I don't even remember what I said. It felt like I could hear nothing but my own heartbeat. A minute later, she messaged me that he was gone, and that she didn't need to get security involved. But I don't know. Like I said, my hands are shaking. My boss is on vacation this week, so I messaged her assistant to call me ASAP, but I don't even know what to tell her. What the hell do I do? Update 1 week later. This post turned out to be much longer than I anticipated, so I filed a police report and am currently speaking with an attorney to get evidence of harassment together for a restraining order. A lot of people were asking me for an update, so here it is. After my former boss, Kevin, left my workplace, I immediately sent a message to my boss's assistant, Jessica, asking her to call me ASAP. She called me via Teams a few minutes later, and I laid everything out for her. What had just happened, who Kevin was, and how he'd made my previous workplace miserable. The more I spoke, the more I spiraled. It felt like the words I was saying were becoming faster and louder, and at one point, Jessica had to stop me so I could take some deep breaths. I've never had a panic attack before, but I'm fairly certain that's exactly what I was experiencing. I remember asking Jessica repeatedly, "What if he kills me?" Looking back now, I'm a bit embarrassed that I got so out of control, but at the time, I really thought I was going to die the minute I left the office. Jessica was able to calm me down somewhat, and while we were still on the Teams meeting, she called our boss, Nicole. I didn't want her to, but Jessica was adamant that Nicole needed to know about this. Nicole was supposed to have been on her first day of vacation, but her plane hadn't departed yet, and she was able to answer the call from the airport. Jessica mostly filled her in on what was going on. The more she spoke, the guiltier I felt. I felt like I was already causing major issues for a company I'd only been with for a month, and Nicole knew nothing about any of this. During my interview with her, when she asked me why I was leaving my current job, all I said was that I was looking to move to the city. But Nicole is nothing like Kevin. She immediately took this 100% seriously. She had Jessica contact security to let them know what's going on, and to make sure they have footage of Kevin entering the premises. Then she told me that I needed to call the non-emergency police line and file a report, which I did from my phone while I was still on Teams with her on my desktop. The woman I spoke to didn't seem to take what I was saying too seriously, but she told me to call them back if anything else happened. My boss eventually had to hop off the Teams call to catch her flight, but before she did, she told me to go home, to text both her and Jessica as soon as I got home, and that I was going to WFH for the rest of the week. I was terrified of leaving the office. My commute is only a 15-minute walk, but I was still scared that Kevin would be outside waiting for me. By his own account, he's been arrested multiple times in the past for getting into fights with people. Luckily, Jessica had already contacted one of our security guys to escort me home. Even so, I could feel my heart racing the entire time, and I was breathing like I was running a marathon. Thankfully, I was escorted home without incident. Since then, I've been WFH. Even though she's on vacation, my boss has been texting me every day to make sure I'm still alive. She told me she's gone through something similar in the past, so she knows how it feels. She's a complete 180 from Kevin, and I'm so fortunate to have her as a boss. I also told my parents what had happened, and my dad drove up here that same night to stay with me. He's still here, and I do feel a lot safer now. Today I called and asked our receptionist what, exactly, my boss said. According to her, he came in and said he was my friend, and that his crews had a project nearby, and that he was just in the neighborhood, and wanted to stop in and say hi. This is all BS. For background, he works for a construction company that focuses a lot on roadway repaving. The crews never pave in the middle of the afternoon. There's too much traffic for that. Instead, they always pave around 1 in the morning and end around 5 a.m. After she had called me and hung up, I guess Kevin could tell by the expression on her face that I would not be coming out, because he asked, "I guess she's not coming, huh?" After our receptionist confirmed this and told him I was in an important meeting, he said something along the lines of, "Oh, I forgot she thinks she's a big shot now." Honestly, this annoys me so much. When I was working for him, he would sometimes refer to me as his assistant to others, even though I wasn't his assistant. He would also constantly try to get me to sign up for administrative assistant trainings and webinars to help me out, even though I wasn't an administrative assistant either. He was always trying to diminish me in every way possible, and I think once he saw on LinkedIn that I'm a director now, he got mad. I don't think he dropped in just to say hi. I think he dropped in to scare me, and I hate to admit that he got exactly what he wanted. Per our receptionist and security, he hasn't been back to my workplace since, but I hate that he went this far. I never really understood why he was, and still is, so obsessed with me, but I have some theories. A lot of people commented that he's sexually or romantically attracted to me. While I'm not going to discount that theory entirely, I personally have never really gotten those vibes from him, despite the effed up shit he's said and done to me, because he's said and done a lot of effed up things to other people, too. I think he's just someone who requires constant validation from everyone. It's always been clear that he wants other men to admire and respect him, and I think he just wants women to like him in the romantic sense, even if he doesn't like them in that capacity, and even though he's married with 2 kids. I also think he enjoyed having the power to make a woman in her 20s, namely me, jump whenever he said jump. He's also so insecure that he would unironically tell other men that he was an alpha male, and he would always talk about college, how he didn't go, how his high school teachers said he'd never be able to be accepted anywhere, and how it's funny now because people with degrees work for him, so yeah, he's super insecure about having never gone to college. He would also sometimes talk about the woman who held my position before she was fired. Why she was fired was never really made clear to me, but he would say things like, "I think she would go into my office when I wasn't here to steal my shit," or "I think she was in love with me or something." I doubt either of these things were true, but who knows? He very obviously took issue with the fact that I'm naturally quiet and introverted by nature. I also think my other two coworkers there made things worse. Sometimes they were just as bad as Kevin. One of them, Amy, was outright nasty to me from the moment I started working there. But the other one, Nick, completely betrayed my trust. Every time I got yelled at in front of everyone by Kevin, Nick would seek me out later that day and tell me things like, "Don't let him get to you. You're doing great." He was the one person I thought I could trust there, and sometimes we would commiserate over some of Kevin's infuriating antics together. Well, I later found out that Nick was purposefully shit-talking Kevin to me, and as soon as I said anything in agreement, he would run straight to Kevin and tell him, "Guess what my name just said about you." There was also a revolving door of superintendents who were also just as toxic, and I can't believe I put up with that shit for more than a year. Anyways, I'm feeling a lot better now, but I know deep in my gut that this will not be the last time I'm going to have to deal with Kevin. Today, my dad and I went to see a local attorney, and we're in the process of putting together evidence of harassment so that I can, hopefully, get a temporary, then final restraining order. I have a screenshot of the time he viewed my LinkedIn profile. My attorney also said that we can use my diary, which I write in almost daily, and contains exact dates and incidents that occurred during my time working for Kevin. My attorney has also requested my former HR department for a copy of my exit interview at my previous job, wherein I stated everything Kevin had ever done and said. So, the HR rep there, at least, is aware of what's going on, though I doubt he's going to be fired. A lot of people told me to go to Kevin's boss. He has a few. They're a family. But I'm not going to go to them simply because I don't think they'd care. They don't really seem to care about who they employ, so long as they get paid. Yes, I'm sure they would care if I threatened to sue, but I'm not going to do that because, well, let's just say that they themselves are known to be pretty sketchy, and in some ways, they're actually scarier than Kevin. I know that sounds stupid and silly, but it's true, and I'm not comfortable getting too much into the details as to why people are kind of afraid of them. I don't want to mess with them or their money. I just want Kevin to leave me TF alone. I also have the footage from our security department of Kevin entering the premises, driving off about 10 minutes after our receptionist told him I was busy, and then of his truck coming back to the parking lot around 4:45 p.m., just 15 minutes before we close at 5, and not leaving until it was almost 6 p.m., well after everyone had already gone home for the day. I'm certain that he either asked someone or looked on Google to see when our office hours were and when I would be getting out of work. So I'm grateful that my boss sent me home early that day. When I think about what might have happened if she didn't, IDK, it's hard to breathe. When, if I get granted a temporary restraining order, it'll only be a week or so before a hearing is set for a final restraining order. Wish me luck that it gets approved. And then wish me more luck that Kevin actually abides by it, LOL. Relevant comments. Curious Penguin Socks commented, "Yeah, him coming back tells me that it's not over and he is willing to escalate. OP is doing all the right steps and I hope this is over soon." Rudyboyjohn5 commented, "The dude is a legit nightmare and a threat." Happy-go-lucky 244 commented, "I'd be carrying pepper spray at the bare minimum just to be safe. This is so scary. Stay safe, OP." Accomplished_trip_ commented, "This. Restraining orders are necessary, but you need to have the ability to protect yourself if necessary, and the time to legally obtain a method of self-defense is now. Well, technically, it was the day he showed up, but now is the second best alternative." Will650 commented, "Glad you have a fantastic group of coworkers now, and you're definitely taking the right precautions against this psychopath. Sounds to me like Kevin has a power kink and loves putting people down to make himself feel superior. You probably live rent-free in his head now that you're succeeding in a new job." And that wraps up this story for now. Thanks for listening. Subscribe to Reddit Dirt for daily stories.